Sat Sri Akal and welcome to SKA Awaaz, Voices That Inspire, a podcast proudly brought to you by the Singapore Khalsa Association. I'm Harpreet Kaur and today we have a guest whose journey is nothing short of extraordinary. He's made history but continues to inspire young athletes with his resilience and leadership. We are talking about none other than Delwinder Singh, the first Singaporean to play in the Cambodian Football League. From captaining Tanjong Pagar United at just 18 to representing Singapore on the international stage, Delwinder's story is a testament to grit, perseverance, and the power of believing in oneself. His journey has been filled with highs, lows, and invaluable lessons that extend far beyond the football pitch. Delwinder, welcome to SKA Awaaz. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Hello, Harpreet. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's definitely a pleasure to be here as well.
Thank you. Before we dive into your career, let's start with the beginning. What was the moment when you knew football wasn't just a passion, but your path in life?
I would say probably making it to the primary school team. Back then, making it when I was primary 3. I've always been playing since young with my dad during his weekly kickabout sessions with his friends, his colleagues and stuff. But I think that was just more fun and leisure. But something which really got me, or rather resonated with the game, and I really wanted to make something out of it, was when I made it to the national youth team at 14, secondary 2. So I think I knew I wanted to make this a career at primary 3, but a dream which could turn reality was when I was 14, and I knew that, okay, this is the next step towards making it professional. So I would say, secondary 2 to be precise.
And you mentioned making it to the youth, was it youth academy at that point of time? So were you selected from the secondary school? Were you scouted? How did that go about?
Yeah, so that was actually the first setback, one of the first few setbacks I had in my footballing journey. Because I was playing a game for a team back then. So back then it was a couple of local clubs, and there was this zonal teams. So the best players from the east, west, north and south. So I was in the north zone then.
Sure.
So they would actually go around picking the best 20 players.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to be in that team then.
Yeah.
So it was during one of the games that the coach was actually looking at the game, and he called me up. He after the game, he spoke to my coach, and my coach spoke to me as well, and together with the coach back then, who was Coach Abdullah No. Yeah. So he actually invited me to a training stint with Singapore Sports School, because like I said, back then I had my first ever competition was in Sec 2 Singapore Youth Under 14. So they needed a team of 18 players, and Sports School back then only had 14.
Okay.
So they needed four additional players, one of each position. So I was trying to fight for the defender spot back then. So I went for the trials and everything, but like any other kid, nerves got the better of me, and I was not successful in it.
Sure.
I was actually I was told to stop coming and stuff, but I just continued with my journey playing. And again, weeks later, when I was playing for my school this time, again Singapore Sports School in a tournament back then, the Nike Cup, it was a semi-final against Singapore Sports School at Singapore Sports School.
Yeah.
And I remember after the game, the coach again approached and said, like, why didn't I see this performance, during the trials, and he again gave me the second hope, in actually making it.
Yeah.
And this time round, I think I was a bit more prepared, and I knew what I was gonna go through.
Okay.
So thankfully, I made it better, and I really took the opportunity at hand. And that was when I actually made it, and I knew that there's something I really want to go through.
I'm sure there was the second time round definitely became a extra boost of confidence, and as well, that wow.
Yeah, I think that was when I knew that, okay, chances don't come around often.
Definitely.
And that's something I really had to because if I didn't, I don't know when will be the next one.
Yeah.
Or if there will ever be a next one. So yeah, so I think I just gave it my all, and yeah,
Interesting.
memories are made.
Was there any moment in life where your parents actually had a conversation with you and said, Delwinder, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what was your answer?
I mean, I think we vaguely had like conversations like that, but I do remember when in secondary school, when I was playing football a bit too much,
Yeah.
I think, and I was neglecting my studies.
Right.
So that was rather most of the conversations, rather than what you want to be in the future.
Right.
But because back then it's always parents being parents, which I don't blame them for. They were just looking out for me, and it was just more towards like, how about focusing on your study a bit more and pay the same attention as how you give it to football.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Delwinder, you're the first Singaporean to play in the Cambodian Football League. What was your experience like in Cambodia? And I also know that was not your first football overseas trip. What has Cambodia and all these other football trips overseas given you?
Yeah, so generally when I was growing up, I got into the national youth team when I was 14.
Sure.
And that was my first ever stint like going abroad with a team and playing in the regional competition. So I remember my first ever competition was in KL for the Singapore Under 14 team in a AFC tournament. So yeah, as years went on, every single year I used to travel because there was regional tournaments all around, and from 14 right up till when I made my debut in national team as well, I was still traveling. And because of these experiences, it's brought me actually quite a fair bit in different parts of the world. Mainly, usually when I was younger, it was mostly in Asia. But when I went into national team, it was a place where I never thought I would be, like a lot of the Middle Eastern parts of the world. I always envisioned like, I'll go to Europe, or that's the common thing. But I was mainly in a lot of Middle Eastern part of the world, and and it was an incredible journey as well. I would say that both journeys were unique and different in their own ways. When I was with different teams and national teams, it was more towards I would say maturing yourself as a person. I had to go on trips, I had to take care of myself in a way, and also be as disciplined and be as professional as I can to be ready every single day, be it in training or games. But in Cambodia, it was a whole different game because I was there alone. Back in Singapore, even though I go to games and everything in Singapore as well, but it's different because in Singapore I used to go from the comfort of my home, and it was very I would say it was just very easy. Like I know, like if I had a bad game, I could go back, speak to my family about it, or speak to my friends about it. I could just catch out over a meal. But when I was abroad in Cambodia, it was really testing initially because I was just there all by myself. I could simply get on a call and speak to someone, but it's different when you have human touch, like in person. Where I could just go over a meal, speak to them and stuff like that. But I would never have it any other way. I think that was when I realized that this is something which I've always envisioned myself in, and I always wanted to get into. And when I had the opportunity, I knew I had to seize this opportunity, and at the end of the day, take in as much as I could. And I think what I really taught myself was to always be independent and be as strong as I can mentally, to overcome any obstacles that might possibly come in my way.
That's right. I think you matured quite fast, because at 18 you were handed the captain's armband at Tanjong Pagar United. Now that's a huge responsibility at such a young age. How did you handle the pressure, especially when we have older team members and some of them may not be comfortable someone younger telling them what to do? How did you manage all of that? And most importantly, what are two leadership lessons that has stayed with you?
I think, like you mentioned, it was definitely very tough, and yeah, it's just I had teammates who were way older than me, maybe even twice my age and stuff like that. And I've had, apart from being with older players, I had players who were already in national team players at the point of time.
Sure.
Who has achieved a lot in their career. But I think the biggest takeaway I could get was actually getting the armband from a coach who was a captain himself.
And who was
that? Coach Terry Papmanathan.
Sure.
Yeah, he was a captain himself back when he was playing, for the national team and stuff like that. And I felt like he really guided me through. And also with the blessings of the senior players, they actually really helped me out. And I didn't feel like it was really a captain's role.
Yeah.
I still felt like I was a junior coming up through the ranks, and they were really guiding me through. It's just, to me, I was just thinking like, okay, it's just a piece of armband on my hand. At the end of the day, on paper it just states I'm a captain. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I knew that these players were the one who were the real leaders I was actually looking up to, and nice. It actually shaped me up to how I am today as well. So yeah, talking about leadership qualities, I would say that the first thing that I learned was respect. Because the saying always goes to always respect your elders, and I, even though I had the armband, but I still had to show respect to my seniors and actually listen to them as well. I didn't have the mentality that I'm the captain, so sure, everyone has to listen to me.
Yeah.
And I think the second quality that actually I wouldn't say possessed, but I learned along the way was to actually put in the hard work. Yeah. Because nothing comes easy, and I felt that at a point of time, to really make it, I had to put in the hard work, because like if I really wanted it, there is no easy way around it. So yeah, I would say hard work and respect is what I've learned.
I think there was also this pressure because you had a role at the end of the day to fulfill, and yeah, that's amazing. Delwinder, many young players aspire to make football their full-time career, right? And the journey isn't always smooth. I believe you faced some challenges like losing a club due to national service commitments and battling to stay in the game. What other obstacles have you encountered? And in your experience, what does it truly take to build and sustain a football career in Singapore?
I would say NS is definitely one of the... I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Sure.
But I'm saying that it's something that everyone has to go through. Mm-hmm. There's no way around it. So that's one reason a lot of players fall out of the game. Sure. The next thing that is the biggest worry for a player is injury, be it minor or major. And that was something that I had to go through just before making my professional debut, actually. So at the age of 17, I actually broke my left foot, and I had to go through surgery with metal implants and do a bit of bone grafting.
Right.
Yeah, so it's my fifth left metatarsal, and that was something which was, in all honesty, I thought there was a make it or break it. Yeah. Like, because at that point of time in year 2010, I was in my final year as an FA graduate. And usually what's next after that is either you make it to the Young Lions to play in the S League, or you make it to clubs, but most of the time you make it to their reserve squad. So it's like back then it was under 23. But I was very blessed and very grateful till today. Coach Terry as well. He saw me through my NFA days. And just nice that year, Tanjong Pagar decided to come back into the league, and he was the coach. So they were actually going through a couple of rounds of trials, but I was out for almost 9 to 10 months, and I couldn't make it for any trial.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, you know what? There goes my second hope as well. But one day he just called me and he said like, okay, Del, how's your progress, this and that, because I was doing my rehab with FAS.
Okay.
And when I was doing my rehab with FAS, he was in FAS then, in Young Lions. So he was looking through my progress and stuff like that as well. So he just gave me assurance like, look, Del, you don't need to be worried about whatever it is, because I've seen you play. And he's coached me a couple of sessions when I go up to Young Lions to train at the point of time. And I know your ability and what you give, what you're giving. So don't worry, just recover, and actually the contract is already on the table for you. So I was very blessed in that way, and that was how I made it.
As you mentioned, you've been lucky that you had Coach Terry Padmanathan, and I think you've also mentioned Coach Reddy as well.
Yeah.
These two who have been pretty prominent in your life, and that is the kind of mentorship that has happened in your life, which has been incredible by these two. But perhaps you could also share with me how your family supported you throughout this entire process.
I think they've been a pillar of strength for me the entire time. Especially my parents, who were always there for me. Of course, at the initial stage, parents being parents, which again I say I don't blame them for it, and I'm actually grateful that they were looking out for me. Initially they were like, is that really something you want to do, or should you focus on a proper career? Like something that you can actually make a future out of.
Of course.
Because as we all know, football is not long enough to provide, if you're lucky till 30ish you can play. And so they've always been there and always supportive. But I think when I started making it professionally, that was when they actually were more open to it, because they saw that, okay, I'm actually really pushing through it, and it's something that it's a feasible idea at the end of the day, turning my dreams into reality. And they were, of course, completely supportive throughout. And further on, I went while playing at the point of time, I was doing my diploma and then followed by NS, and then years later I did my degree as well. And threw it all out, and I think if I can't remember when was it, but I remember that my parents did say, like, at the end of the day, when I was young, I didn't really pay too much attention to studies, but at the end of the day, I chose doing my degree and my diploma and etc. on my own accord. And I think it's something boiled down to how they were when I was younger. And it really struck me when I was more matured.
From mentorship, let's move on to you being a coach. You're training the SKA Youth Football Academy every Friday. What else are you doing, and what's next for Delwinder Singh?
So I'm currently training the kids on Fridays. And when I got back from Cambodia, a couple of my ex-teammates were actually training them. So they were looking for coaches as well, and they just asked if I was okay to do it. And I thought, why not? Like, if I can contribute in a small way, why not? Let me do it. So I've been here ever since. And future wise, this is a tough one. Of course, I'm now in my 30s, and it's a case of when is the day I have to hang up my boots.
Sure.
It's definitely a tough one, and I think you can ask any player, it's never easy going through that. And I don't have a concrete answer. I still harbor hopes of playing, of course, especially after coming back from Cambodia. I still harbor hopes of playing abroad or locally, be it whichever comes. But I also have to be realistic. If something feasible doesn't come along, then I have to start thinking of my future. And be it in a coaching capacity, a management role, or something off football but still in sports. So I think that's something which would answer your question of what's next for me.
Sure. I'll just go back a little bit, and this will be our last question about the boys that you're training at the Singapore Khalsa Association. What would you share with one of them about dreaming to play professionally?
Very good question, because there's something which I thought when I was younger, like if I could actually make it, to just go for it. You might never know.
Yeah.
You might think like, oh, they're better players or whatever it is. But I think, thankfully, we are in a multiracial country where, players comes from all sorts of background, races, religion and whatever. And we are very inclusive in that sense that we accommodate to everyone.
Sure.
So if any player comes to me and asks, definitely I'll say go for it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be an easy journey. It's not a case of, oh, I want to be and I'm going to be.
Yeah.
It's a case of, you want to be, but how are you going to get there? Along the way, many obstacles will come, rejections, countless rejections will come. But you just got to really go through it. So if you're really up for it, go through it. Like, I went through very, very hard times as well, from countless rejection, injuries, this and that. But I knew what was my end goal at the end of the day, and I really want to make it. So yeah, back to your question, making it is fine, but are you willing to go through that entire hardship, Because going through it is fine, but are you okay to actually go through the hardship of it, And it can be like, 10 years of going through it and suddenly one day you're not in it anymore. How do you cope with that? So there's a lot of things to ponder before going about. Definitely I'll support anyone and give as much advice as I can. Yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you, Delwinder, for sharing your inspiring journey with us. Your experiences, challenges, and leadership lessons are truly valuable, especially for the aspiring footballers. I sincerely hope this podcast reaches the youth in our community and even beyond. Now, let's shake things up a little bit with our next section. I don't want to call it the rapid fire round, but that's pretty much what it is. Yeah. It's sort of become mandatory with our guests. All you have to do is answer the first thing that comes to your mind.
Sure.
All right, let's kick off. Favorite footballer of all time?
Steven Gerrard.
If you could play for a team in the EPL or Champions League, which team would it be?
Again, with Gerrard, so Liverpool.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you on the pitch?
I can't really think of one, but I'll probably say it's probably a case of being a substitute during a game, and when we warm up on the side, sometimes your coaches are a bit too far and they call players, and I think it was a case of calling two players and I thought I was one of them. So when I went there and I was getting ready to go in, suddenly the coach was like, "Oh, what are you doing here? You're not going in."
Overconfident?
Yeah, so it's like, just a bit of but I think that's probably the most embarrassing, I would say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If football were to disappear tomorrow, what sport would you pick up instead?
I'll probably say athletics, rugby or handball.
Okay.
Yeah, one of it.
Okay. Can you name one rule in football that you think should be changed?
I would say currently the VAR.
Oh, is it?
I think it's a good, to be honest, it's a good initiative,
Okay.
but how it's being used is hard, because back then when there was no VAR, yes, obviously sometimes referees are humans as well, and in the heat of the moment you can be angry and upset with them, but at the end of the day, when you go back, you look at the replay, say, oh yeah, ref made a wrong call, but you can empathize with him.
Sure.
But these days when you have VAR, they have the liberty of actually going through it again, and worldwide, I'm not even saying in Singapore, worldwide, there have been errors even after reviewing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it even harder to accept. So I would say, VAR. Like if it's used entirely where it really scrapes off all the uncalled errors, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, then I think I would scrape it. And I mean, the beauty of football is the unpredictability, So VAR actually, in a way,
kills certain moments, I guess.
There are players who are, especially the senior players, there are players who are, they are experienced in a way to, I would say, be dirty in certain things.
Right.
Yeah, so VAR kills it lah, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Delwinder.
Thank you so much.
We wish you all the best in your next moves.
Thank you so much, Harpreet.
Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in to SKA Awaaz. We are thrilled to have reached our third episode, and we can't thank you enough for the incredible support you've shown us. Be sure to join us for our next episode, where we feature a very young guest who's making waves in the racing arena. We'll share how she got to where she is today. Before we wrap up, we'd also like to give a special shout out to all the committees in SKA who have been organising fantastic events at the association. Coming up soon is a financial literacy program on 8 March, hosted by the Young Khalsa Committee. We also have weekly toll classes organised by our Cultural and Social Committee. There's a wide range of activities ahead, so do make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok to stay updated. Keep listening to SKA Awaaz, voices that inspire.